The Rock Island 1911 FS 9mm standard is much more than your standard GI model. Modern additions are now the new standard on most 1911-based pistols. These modern additions, and that it is chambered in 9mm, makes the Rock Island 1911 FS 9mm standard worth taking a look at. So, let's do that. First, let's run through the specification information. Then, I'll dig into the features and also talk about some of the upgrades that I did to make it personal. The SKU number, in case you are interested in that, is 51632. The 1911 FS Standard 9mm is part of the Rock series that consists of the more popular lineup of RIA pistols and revolvers. The caliber is 9mm, that some would feel is just not right for a 1911-based pistol. The magazine capacity is 10 rounds, which is 2 more than you get with a standard 1911 magazine chambered in the 45 ACP. Pistol came with 1 magazine. More on magazines later. The barrel length is the standard government model length of 5 inches. The overall length of the 1911 FS Standard 9mm is 8.54 inches, or 217 millimeters. The overall width is 1.42 inches, or 36 millimeters. This is due to the ambidextrous thumb safety levers. The general width is less and can generally vary according to the thickness of the grip panels used on the pistol. More on that later. The overall height is 5.51 inches, or 140 millimeters. The unloaded weight is 2.5 pounds, or 1.13 kilograms. Remember that this is an all-steel firearm. More on that later. The front sight is a dovetail-mounted standard sight that is drift adjustable for windage. The rear sight is a fixed snag-free type that, like the front sight, is drift adjustable for windage only. The grip panels are nicely checkered rubber with the Rock Island Armory logo. The overall finish of the pistol is nicely applied black parkerized, which is a phosphate conversion coating that protects the metal from corrosion. The semi-automatic action is single action, as is usual for 1911 pistols. The rated trigger pull weight is 4 to 6 pounds. Mine comes in at 3 pounds 11.4 ounces with a 5-pull average, as measured with my Wheeler Engineering trigger pull gauge. The purpose of this pistol, according to Rock Island Armory, is for personal protection and recreational shooting. The manufacturer's suggested retail price at the time of this review is $599. The 1911 FS Standard 9mm is Maryland compliant for those that live in that state. Now, let's take a look at the features of the 1911 FS Standard 9mm and my viewpoint of them. The Rock Island 1911 FS 9mm Standard, part of the Rock series of pistols, follows the convention of the earlier 70 series Colt 1911, with its standard barrel, bushing, and frame integrated feed ramp. The full-length guide rod, or FLGR, is immaterial to me, as I can live with them and I can live without them. With the Rock Island 1911 FS 9mm Standard, there is no more complexity with disassembly and assembly of the pistol than with a 1911 base pistol with a standard guide rod. Perhaps I am just used to them and accept FLGRs as a matter of course. Some of the other RIA pistols, for example, the MS and CS series, also have full-length guide rods, but are more complex in disassembling and assembling of the pistols. The barrel is a nice piece of work, and while most people shun long-barreled pistols like the 5-inch government model, the barrel length is highly regarded for accuracy and a few more feet per second out of the 9mm round, or the 45 ACP round for that matter. The barrel locks up securely when in battery. Although I do carry a commander length 1911 often, as an EDC, I will swap out with the government length more often than not. The one thing that I like about the RIA series of pistols is the 11-degree target crown barrel that helps to protect the exit of the barrel from damage. The provided rubber grip panels with the Rock Island Armory logo are a welcome addition to the new breed of Rock Island Armory pistols. They are standard with grip panels, and the hold on them is very positive, which also helps in recoil management. Grip handles are probably the most changed on 1911 base pistols, and I am as guilty as anyone in doing so. With that said, I decided to change the hard rubber grip panels provided with the Rock Island 1911 FS Standard 9mm. The existing grip panels were replaced by a set of stipple full-size grips that were cut for a magwell and RIA ambi safety. These were secured with custom grip screws from Cool Hand Grips. Although the flat metal mainspring housing is suitable for most hands, I needed to change that as well. An arched mainspring housing and extended magwell from Ed Brown forms the grip to my hand better. I have always liked the arched mainspring housing. The magwell allows me to carry a 10-round 9mm magazine with bump pad, while effectively being concealed by the magwell, although it does add about 1/4 inch of length to the grip. Installed just above the mainspring housing is the grip safety. The extended beaver tail grip safety is also a welcome feature for me. The beaver tail grip safety enables you to get the hand as high on the grip as possible without worrying about the dreaded hammer bite that virtually all 1911 operators have come to know at one time or another. The beaver tail grip safety is also handy to guide the hand up the grip when drawing from the holster. The commander-style royaled hammer nestles nicely into beaver tail grip safety, and the two are a very workable package. The grip safety incorporates a memory bump. Actually, it has nothing to do with memory, but that's what it's commonly called. This raised portion of the grip safety helps to keep the grip safety pressed in when the operator uses a high hold and rides the safety lever like I do, which does tend to decrease the pressure on the grip safety unless there is a means to prevent that, and that is what the memory bump does. The extended slide stop lever is nicely checkered for positive operation with either the thumb of the firing hand or the thumb of the support hand for releasing the slide, although I prefer the slingshot method most of the time, but do use the slide stop lever when combat loading the 1911. Many people do not like ambidextrous safeties, but I like an extended thumb safety control on a 1911 base pistol, and the Rock Island 1911 FS 9mm Standard, as with the Rock Standard FS 45 ACP, has what I like. There is virtually no learning transition between these two pistols. There are also a couple of things surprising between the two. Rock Island 1911 FS 9mm standard is slightly longer than its 45 ACP counterpart, and with a full capacity of ammunition, it is heavier than the 45 ACP version. What this translates to is less recoil, and less recoil is always good. While I would like the edges on the thumb safety to be more rounded, I have no issues with what comes on the pistol. Note that I also use a holster that does not have a sweat guard, and an extended thumb safety will eventually find its way embedded into the sweat guard. I prefer to have the grip area well clear of anything that could cause the safety to go into an unsafe direction. The ambidextrous thumb safety has a good feel and positively engages and disengages with the right amount of tension. I would rather have a thumb safety that is a little too stiff than a little too loose. One of the first things to be noticed when handling the Rock Island 1911 FS 9mm standard, as compared to its 45 ACP counterpart, is how easily the slide operates. Original 1911 recoil springs were 16 pounds of spring rate, which was considered normal for the ammunition at the time, 230 grain ball running at 850 feet per second. The recommended spring rate for the 45 ACP is 18 pounds due to more modern ammunition. The standard spring rate for the 9mm version of the full-size 1911 is 12 pounds. This spring rate makes the Rock Island 1911 FS 9mm standard slide very easy to manipulate and should appeal to shooters with weak hand strength. The spring rate should also accommodate a wide range of standard, range, and defensive ammunition, not plus P. Although all Armscor pistols are plus P rated, the use of this ammunition should be limited. I would also suggest to increase the spring rate to a number 14 unit to prevent damage to the pistol. I'll be ordering some spare 12 and 14 recoil springs in the near future. The obvious difference between the 9mm version of the 1911 to its larger bored counterpart, 45 ACP, is the bore diameter. The barrel is also thicker to accommodate the slide, which is about the same dimensions as the 45 ACP version. The thicker barrel also adds weight, which also translates to less recoil. The barrel utilizes the John Moses Browning swing length that, again, reflects the history and tradition of the 1911 base pistol. As with the 45 ACP barrel, dual locking lugs on the slide ensure a positive barrel lockup every time. The barrel has a small feed ramp that tilts down to accept a new magazine-fed round. The cartridges are fully supported within the chamber. Since the barrel is essentially the same thickness as the 45 ACP counterpart, there is going to be obvious differences in the feed ramp. The feed ramp and chamber opening are smaller, and it should be obvious that the chamber, feed ramp, and magazine feeding must work in harmony with each other, as they must with a larger caliber 1911 base pistol. It is even more critical with the 9mm version of the 1911 base pistol. A single 10-round flush mount magazine ships with the pistol. The ACT mag that came with the pistol gave no problems during the test phase of the pistol, but I will be adding Wilson Combat magazines if the pistol is to be used for other than range practice. If you are used to 3-dot sights, night sights or otherwise, sights on the Rock Island 1911 FS 9mm standard may take some getting used to, as they have no dots. The front sight, however, is thick enough to view in the notch of the rear sight. I decided to do a poor job of painting the front sight with fluorescent green to provide some contrast between the front and rear sight. I had noticed that the rear sight contains pockets on each side of the viewing area that can be filled with paint or other sight materials to create a 2-dot rear sight, and that's what I did. Armscor publishes a sight guide on its website in the FAC A section to help you when replacing the sights with something better, and I included the sight dimensions here as well. One thing I can say about the Rock Island Armory line of 1911 based pistols is that their triggers are consistent. A very short take-up, a wall that takes about 4 pounds to pull to pass on this particular pistol, a crisp break, and almost non-existent over-travel. The long skeletonized trigger incorporates an over-travel adjustment screw. It is a rare case where you would have to adjust this setting, however. The application of the parkerized finish is excellent, although you may detect differences between component parts of the pistol. This, according to the manufacturer, is due to varying times in the parkerizing process, which will result in varying shades of gray, almost to black. I have noticed differences in parkerizing tones even in high-priced 1911 based pistols, and it comes down to what you can accept and what you cannot. There is the fit of the slide to the frame. Unloaded, there is a slight hint of movement between the slide and frame, but that is not bad. Once pistol is locked and loaded, however, any trace of movement disappears. The 1911 pistol has always been aesthetically pleasing, at least to me. Basic lines, look, and feel have all been appealing to me. Second generation, as I call them, of the Rock Island Armory line of 1911 pistols, had a billboard of sorts, not unlike many 1911 manufacturers. While this billboard has no effect on functioning, it does distract from the look of the pistol with its stark contrast to the pistol's finish. With later models, the large billboard was removed. This was replaced with a small logo that is positioned at the rear of the slide. This newer version is far more appealing and still projects the manufacturer's name, but in a more subtle way. From an aesthetic standpoint, I would like to see more 1911 manufacturers adopt this simplistic approach to branding and keep the slide as clean as possible. Maintenance of the Rock Island Armory 9mm FS 1911 consists of the usual disassembly, cleaning, lubrication, assembly, and function check. Since the Rock Island 1911 FS 9mm standard is a government model of pistol, disassembly and assembly is easily performed without tools, especially since the recoil spring is light and compared to its 45 ACP brethren. Even with a full-length guide rod, disassembly and assembly does not stray much from that of 1911 pistols with standard guide rods. Ensure that the firearm is unloaded and cleared, no magazine inserted, no round in the chamber, and no ammunition in close proximity. Since the hammer is cocked from clearing the firearm, set the thumb safety to the safe position. This prevents the slide from moving to the rear when removing the guide rod bushing. Keep your face away from the muzzle while performing the takedown procedure. Not doing so could result in serious injury. I simply use my thumbnail to move the guide rod bushing into the slide. With a full-length guide rod, the guide rod rides within the guide rod bushing. Pushing down on the guide rod bushing, enough to clear the barrel bushing, can sometimes be tricky. The guide rod bushing must be pushed down and held enough so that the barrel bushing can be turned, and also to keep the guide rod bushing from flying to who knows where. A simple twist operation of the barrel bushing releases the guide rod bushing. Maintain constant pressure on the guide rod bushing at all times. Slowly release the guide rod spring tension, then remove the guide rod bushing. Incidentally, you can also use a bushing wrench to do all of this, but one is not needed. Remove the recoil spring. Twist the recoil spring clockwise to release the tension on the guide rod while pulling the recoil spring outward from the slide. Once the guide rod bushing and spring is removed, move the slide to the disassembly notch in the frame. Push the disassembly pin from the right side of the frame. Remove the takedown unit from the frame. Separate the slide-in frame. Remove the full-length guide rod from the rear of the slide. Remove the barrel bushing. Place the swing length down against the barrel and remove the barrel. Field stripping of the rock for inspection and maintenance is completed. For cleaning, inspection, and lubrication, I'm going to simply refer to the user's manual that comes with the pistol, as it has all the information you need to properly clean, inspect, and lubricate the pistol. Since Rock Island Armory likes to ship their pistols with an abundance of oil, most of the initial cleaning time will be spent trying to get rid of as much of it as you can. Rock Island 1911 FS 9mm standard is quite the leaky fellow. Especially important is to clean the firing pin and firing pin channel. I use Wilson oils applied to all of the rails, guide rods, bushings, and barrel. With the choice of lubricants, I leave up to you. I did not notice any abnormalities during the inspection, and the pistol's internals passed enough mustering as I could perform. Some say that I over-lubricate a 1911, but I believe that wherever there is metal-to-metal contact, it is to be lubricated. I don't run my vehicles or my guns without proper lubrication. I have found that most 1911-based pistols like to run slightly wet. Assembly is pretty close to what you would perform with a standard short guide rod, with minor differences. So, let's put the rock back together. Push the swing link down against the barrel. Insert the barrel into the slide until it is fully seated. Insert the full-length guide rod. Move the barrel swing link to a position that enables you to capture the swing link with the takedown pin. As you install the slide onto the frame, push the slide not quite to the disassembly notch. Using the takedown pin, locate the swing link and push the takedown assembly pin lightly through the swing link. Position the slide to the disassembly notch in the frame. Use a straight downward motion to push the takedown assembly into the frame. Pull or push the slide fully forward. Place the thumb safety lever up in the safe position. As with field stripping on 1911, this prevents the slide from moving to the rear. Slide the recoil spring over the guide rod. The recoil spring will be under spring tension. Keep your face away from the muzzle while performing this procedure. Not doing so could result in serious injury. With the muzzle facing upward, install the guide rod bushing onto the top of the recoil spring. Push the guide rod bushing and recoil spring down until the lip of the guide rod bushing just engages the barrel bushing. Twist the barrel bushing into place onto the lip of the guide rod bushing and release the tension of the guide rod bushing so that it is against the barrel bushing. While supporting the pistol, press the guide rod bushing down enough where you can rotate the barrel bushing completely over top of the guide rod bushing and lock everything into place. Push the thumb safety into the down position and cycle the slide a few times to ensure that the slide operates smoothly. Lock the slide back and then perform a function check. I use several snap caps when performing a function check, or when simply dry firing any of my firearms, as they allow me to check firing, extraction, ejection, and the slide locking back on an empty magazine. Snap caps also provide the firing pin something soft to strike against, thus protecting the firing pin. Insert 2 snap caps into a magazine and insert the magazine into the pistol. Pull the slide to the rear and allow it to go forward in the battery, which will chamber the first snap cap. Place the thumb safety in the up, safe position. Without gripping the pistol, pull the trigger. The hammer should not fall. Grip the pistol and pull the trigger. The hammer again should not fall. Place the thumb safety in the down or the fire position. Without gripping the pistol, pull the trigger. The hammer should not fall. With the thumb safety in the off safe, the down position, grip the pistol. The grip safety is pressed inward by the palm of the hand. Pull the trigger and the hammer will fall. Attempt to push the safety lever into the fire position with the hammer down. The safety should not move into the safe position. If the hammer falls when the trigger is pulled with either the thumb safety in the safe up position, or the grip safety is not pressed in, or the thumb safety moves into the safe position with the hammer down, seek professional help for your pistol. You have an unsafe condition. Pull the slide to the rear and check that extraction works and that the snap cap is ejected from the pistol. Once again, while fully gripping the pistol, pull the trigger. As before, the hammer will fall. Cycle the slide one more time. Since the snap cap was the only thing in the magazine, the slide should automatically lock back, assuming that you pulled the slide far enough to the rear. One last check is in order. Inspect to ensure that the firing pin hole is clear and that the firing pin is not protruding. If this looks good, remove the magazine. Pull the slide to the rear and then slowly let the slide move forward into battery. Use the thumb and forefinger to hold the hammer while you pull and hold the trigger fully to the rear, and then slowly lower the hammer to its rest, uncocked position. When fully assembled and function checked, the Rock Island 1911 FS 9mm Standard will feel slick as owl. Well, you get the picture. So, let me load up some magazines and off to the range we go. No matter how good a pistol looks, and as they say in the South, if I can't shoot a lick, it ain't worth a lick. After teardown, cleaning, and lubricating the Rock Island 1911 FS 9mm Standard, it was time to hightail it to the range and see if the Rock Island 1911 FS 9mm Standard was, at least, worth its weight in forged carbon steel. I had 50 rounds of 124 grain FMJ from Remington, 50 rounds of 115 grain FMJ from MagTech, and a few 147 grain JHP from Sig Sauer that would be used for the function testing. I felt that these would be some good rounds to at least test the waters of this 1911 based 9mm pistol. A standard silhouette target was hung at 7 yards. I had a 9mm 1911 based pistol, full spare magazines. The Rock Island Armory only comes with one magazine, and there was only one thing left to do: shoot the darn thing. And speaking of magazines, the left side only extended and serrated magazine catch and release button works very well doing both jobs. Between the highly textured grip panels, serrated front strap, and arched and serrated mainspring housing, I experienced no shift of the handle in the hand when firing. Being able to grip the pistol as high as possible minimized muzzle flip as much as possible. After the shooting session, I walked away with an appreciation of the Rock Island Armory FS Standard 1911 base pistol and 9mm. Due to the weight of the pistol, recoil was negligible, In fact, it felt more like firing a .380 caliber round through a lightweight pistol. Since the pistol is 1911 based, total familiarization of external controls was in place for me. For me, the pistol was an absolute pleasure to shoot. The beauty of the Rock Island Armory 1911 FS Standard 9mm is that it can be housed in any holster that fits the 1911 base pistol. The weight of the pistol, while not comfortable, is comforting, and by virtue of the weight, dictates that it will be carried in a holster that is well supported by a good belt. The butt of the pistol, as with any full-size pistol, is the most difficult to conceal. When I hip carry, I carry a 1911 base pistol in an A112 Hawk holster by the Felco Holster Company. For me, I prefer no sweat guard for a 1911. No sweat guard ensures there is no interference with the thumb safety. The holster is worn just behind right hip, and a modified Remora double pouch ammunition carrier holds 2 spare magazines just forward of the right hip. My Perry suspenders helps to keep the load stabilized and also keeps my trousers from hitting the ground, since my gluteus maximus has turned into gluteus minimus. I have mentioned in my other videos that I prefer shoulder holster carry these days. For government-like 1911s, I prefer a vertical shoulder holster. The timeless Roto shoulder holster system from the Felco Holster Company fills that need, but it is easier to conceal in the colder months when additional clothing is worn. I do occasionally carry in the cross-draw position. An Alien Gear Cloak Tuck 3.5 IWB holster set up for cross-draw carry is perfect for me and allows me to carry all 3 standard size 1911s. Once the weight of the pistol is accustomed to, it's nice to know that you have a full-size fighting handgun at your disposal. That is not to say that I don't enjoy carrying a lighter weight, smaller pistol, because I certainly do. But feeling the heaviness of the gun and sliding it into the holster doesn't weigh heavy on my mind, in my hand, but does weigh heavy, at times, on my hip. The Rock Island Armory 1911 FS Standard 9mm carries just fine, if you are willing to carry it. When I have the opportunity to shoot a 1911 base pistol in 45 ACP, I pretty much know what to expect by this point in time, regardless of the series of the pistol. With the 9mm version of this pistol, I expected less recoil, but was not sure of anything else. The Rock Island 1911 FS 9mm Standard is a pleasant surprise. The pistol is low in recoil and high in accuracy, if I do my part. As I look at this example of a Rock Island Armory 9mm 1911 base pistol before me, and with 2 exceptions, I really don't have the propensity to change anything about it, except what I have already changed. While I won't say that the pistol is perfect, the pistol's weight, which some might say is too heavy, I am used to the ease of shooting it, and the familiar feel of its design and current standard features appeal to me. Something interesting happened when I ordered this pistol. When I first called my LGS to inquire about it, there were 4 at the warehouse. It took me about 15 minutes or so to review funds and decide to purchase the pistol. In that 15 minutes that it took me to get back to my LGS, 2 of the 4 had already been ordered by other LGSs. My LGS placed the order to the distributor as I was on the phone with him, to ensure that there would be one available for me. Is it heavy? Is it big? Is it long? Is it an effective pistol for self-defense, target shooting, and/or competition? Why, yes, it is on all counts. So what's the problem? I really don't have any negatives regarding the pistol. Granted, I would like to have better sights, but that can be easily fixed. The Rock Island Armory is a low-end price pistol after all. Some may say that the full-length guide rod is a negative, but I have no problem with them. The pistol breaks down just as easily as with a 1911 with a standard guide rod arrangement. The hard rubber grip panels are much better than the smooth wooden grips these pistols used to come with, and should agree with most hands. I would like to see the pistol come with 2 magazines, however, but I have no problem keeping good magazine manufacturers in business, and I have no complaints with how the pistol shoots. Apparently, the 9mm 1911 base pistol is more popular than I was aware of. If you like the 1911 platform, but you also prefer the softer recoiling 9mm cartridge over the .45 ACP, several examples of the 1911 base pistol can be found from Armscor and other manufacturers. Finally, I have to ask myself, as I do with any handgun, would I be willing to carry the pistol for the purpose of self-defense when out among the populace or home defense? Yes I would, and have. Well, that is it for this session. Join me later for other sessions when I review firearms, old and new, long and short. Thanks for being with me, and until the next time, be safe out there.